Tonight, could we see the first ever strike by resident doctors in Scotland? The medical professionals, formerly known as junior doctors, are backing industrial action in a row over pay. Also on tonight's programme, a man is extradited from Dubai and appears in court in Glasgow, charged with organised crime offences. The Glasgow 2026 Commonwealth Games will not be broadcast live on free-to-air TV, with TNT Sports replacing the BBC.
And coming up in the sport, huge football fixtures at the top of the Premiership table, and rugby takes centre stage at Hampden for the 1872 Cup.
I'm Laura Goodwin, this is Reporting Scotland. Resident doctors in Scotland have voted to strike in January in a dispute about pay. The union, BMA Scotland, said the proposed uplift of 4.25% for the forthcoming financial year was the lowest in the UK and less than recommended by the independent pay review body. There are around 5,500 resident doctors who used to be known as junior doctors. Our health correspondent Lisa Summers reports.
What do we want? Pay restoration! When do we want it? Now!
In England this week, a new wave of strikes by resident doctors is causing disruption across the NHS, and similar scenes may not be too far away here. Doctors accuse the government of going back on promises made in 2023.
My message to patients would be that this is not an action that resident doctors want to take. I'm obviously extremely sorry for any disruption, but this lies at the door of the Scottish Government. We want to negotiate a good deal and avoid these strikes, and for that they have to keep the promises that they made to us, get back to the table and negotiate a credible uplift for resident doctors.
Resident doctors make up almost 50% of the medical workforce in Scotland. They range from newly qualified doctors to those with more than a decade of experience.
Earlier this year, NHS nurses, paramedics and other healthcare workers agreed to a 2-year deal. It's the same offer that's being made to resident doctors, and it would see the basic salary of a newly qualified doctor go up to over £37,000 and a doctor with 10 years' experience to over £77,000.
Waves of strikes by NHS workers have taken place in other parts of the UK, but Scotland has avoided industrial action. This planned action, however, would see doctors walk out for 4 days between January the 13th and 17th. This evening, the Health Secretary said, "I'm disappointed BMA resident doctors have voted to take strike action. Our top priority for our patients and the workforce is to improve waiting times, access to the NHS and positive outcomes. Industrial action will put all of that progress at risk." He's offered to meet resident doctors on Monday, but unless a compromise can be reached, these strikes will come at a time of year when the NHS is busier than ever. Lisa Summers, Reporting Scotland.
A man who's believed to be the first person to be extradited to Scotland from the United Arab Emirates has appeared in court on serious organised crime charges. Stephen Jameson was flown to Glasgow yesterday with Police Scotland detectives who had travelled to Dubai earlier this week. Well, our Home Affairs correspondent David Cowan is here to tell us more. Stephen Jameson was detained in Dubai 3 months ago. Can you take us through what's happened since then?
Well, he's a 42-year-old man. He's from here originally, but he's been living in Dubai for some time. And on the 16th of September, he was detained by the authorities in Dubai. On the same day in the same city, 3 other Scots were also detained by the authorities in Dubai. They were high-profile gangland figures from Scotland: Ross McGill, Stephen Lyons and Stephen Larwood. They were all released. Their current whereabouts are unclear, but Stephen Jameson was kept in custody. All we could find out was that he was receiving consular assistance from the Foreign Office. We could find out very little beyond that. Then today we learned that detectives from Police Scotland had travelled to Dubai earlier this week, and that Stephen Jameson was flown back to Glasgow last night, extradited, the first person, as you say, to be extradited from Dubai back to Scotland. And Police Scotland released a statement today. They said they wanted to thank the UK's National Crime Agency and the law enforcement partners, they said, in the United Arab Emirates for their support and cooperation.
So he appeared in Glasgow Sheriff Court this afternoon. What's he been charged with?
Well, he appeared before a sheriff in private at the start of the legal process. He faces 6 charges altogether. We have some information on that from the Crown Office, Scotland's prosecution service. He's been accused of agreeing to become involved in serious organised crime and directing serious organised crime. He also faces 4 charges under the Misuse of Drugs Act of being involved in the supply of drugs. Police Scotland has said to us that all of these offences date back to 2020. In court today, he didn't enter a plea, he was remanded in custody, and he'll appear in court again within the next 8 days.
OK. Dave, many thanks indeed. The Commonwealth Games in Glasgow will not be shown live in full on a free-to-air TV channel. The organisers of the Games have reached a deal for live coverage on subscription channel TNT Sports. It'll be the first time when a Commonwealth Games held in the UK hasn't received live coverage on BBC television. Stephen Godden reports.
For more than 70 years, the triumphs and failures of Commonwealth Games athletes have been beamed into people's homes by the BBC. Glasgow 2026 will be different. A switch from free-to-air to subscription-based channel TNT Sports.
What we had with the TNT Sports proposal was a really exciting, innovative, bold commitment to take these games, reshape them, reformat them, and take them to a whole new growing audience for 2026.
If you want to immerse yourself in these games, if you want to watch as much of the live action as possible, you're going to have to pay for it.
We're setting out with the Glasgow 2026 Games to make sure there are loads of different ways that people can get involved. So there will be subscription coverage on TNT Sports, but there'll also be free-to-air coverage, and more information will be announced about that next year.
Glasgow stepped in to host a scaled-back Games when the Australian state of Victoria withdrew due to rising costs. Fewer sports, athletes and venues than in 2014. And this decision on the broadcaster adds to the sense that next year's event will feel different. For an event lacking the public funding of Games past, broadcasting rights are an important source of revenue. But some argue this choice has wider consequences.
I think you'll see a decline in interest and a decline in audiences. That's not to say that TNT won't make money, but I feel that the subscription push that they'll give won't be anything close to the range of people that would have watched it on the BBC.
And for the athletes, it's a different backdrop to previous Commonwealth Games.
So many people will come home and flick on the BBC or flick on whatever free-to-air channel the multisport Games is on, and they watch a sport they've potentially never watched a minute of before. And certainly I know for badminton it was huge for the profile of badminton, and huge I guess for me personally.
The BBC said it couldn't match TNT Sports' bid, but with broadcasting rules dictating that some Commonwealth Games coverage must be free-to-air, the broadcaster will be part of the highlights conversation that's still to come. Stephen Godden reporting Scotland, Glasgow.
The delivery date for the second of 2 ferries being built for Calmac has been delayed again by as much as 6 months. State-owned Ferguson Shipyard says corrosion has been discovered on the Glen Rosa, which means it will require extra work next year. Our transport correspondent David Henderson has the story.
Cheers and relief in spring last year at the launch of MV Glen Rosa. It's Clyde-built at the Ferguson Shipyard, but its journey into service with Calmac has been anything but straightforward. Like its sister ship, Glen Sannox, it's been 7 years overdue, but the ferry's now almost complete, and it was meant to sail by the second quarter of next year. That's no later than June. Now, problems have been found, which mean a delay till as late as December.
We want to apologise to the islanders, particularly who felt the pain, and the patience has ran out some time ago. I can understand that, but we've actually evolved to this position as we've progressed through the schedule of Glen Rosa. We took it to a dry dock in the summer there in August, identified a couple of issues when it was in dry dock below the waterline that require remedial work. Regrettably, put us in a position where we've had to move the delivery of Glen Rosa from Q2 26 to Q4 26.
So will extra work bring extra cost? It's not yet clear, but it tends to happen. So far, the 2 ferries built here have left taxpayers with a bill of almost £500 million. That's 4 times the original contract price.
Well, this delay will cause concern for the ferry operator Calmac, because they had hoped that this vessel would be operating on the Arran Run through the busy summer season. That won't now happen.
And delays mean that islanders also end up paying.
Last summer,
There was a drop in footfall. Day passengers were discouraged from coming because of all the uncertainty there was around the service. And we were hoping, for next summer to be an improvement on that. But unless CalMac can come up with a reasonable sized boat to get that capacity going again, we're going to maybe we'll have a repeat of last summer as well.
The Ferguson yard isn't the only one that's slow to deliver. MV Isle of Isla is being built in Turkey. It's 14 months overdue, and we've learned it won't join the CalMac fleet this year. So that doesn't ease pressure on the ferry operator or the West Coast communities it serves. David Henderson reporting Scotland, Port Glasgow.
Some of the day's other stories now. Police have said the murder of a 26-year-old man in a tower block in Motherwell was a targeted attack. Jordan Gray was shot dead and is believed to have died between Sunday night and the early hours of Monday morning. Detectives are looking for information about a person seen in the Shields Court area at around 25 past 10 on Sunday night. They were wearing a dark jacket with the hood up and dark trousers.
It does appear to be a targeted attack and not random. What we are looking to try and do just now through the investigation and the various different strands is build up that picture as to exactly what's happened and why it's happened. And that requires the community to continue to talk to us. It may be that the answer lies within the community, so I would urge them to get in touch.
2 people were treated by ambulance crews following a blaze at Codder Court and Cope Bridge, which was reported at about 6:45 this morning. The fire service said crews in 11 fire engines and 1 height vehicle were on site. Codder Street has been closed and the public's been asked to avoid the area. A 19-year-old man's been arrested in connection with the incident. A group of amateur radio enthusiasts are speaking for the first time about what it was like to work with the emergency services to provide vital radio communications in the aftermath of the Lockerbie disaster. 37 years ago this Sunday, members of the Radio Amateurs Emergency Network were called to the scene because at the time different emergency services couldn't always communicate with each other on the radio. Now, in their 60s and 70s, they told us about the lasting impact it had on them.
Good evening. A Pan-American Boeing 747 airliner flying from London to New York crashed tonight in the Scotland.
And while we were watching it on the news, Tom, our controller, phoned and said, "You lot are on standby for going to Lockerbie."
It's the Radio Amateurs Emergency Network, and we work with emergency services.
You never imagined something like Lockerbie. Every police service had their own frequency, so they couldn't communicate with one another. The ambulance service had its own frequency, as had the fire service. So every search party ended up with a Reindeer operator.
There was no mobile phones again at that time. Very few folk had communications, whereas in Reindeer we could talk to each other regardless of where we came from. But after that I was out with the search and rescue dogs. There was a couple of military guys with us, there was police. There were bodies to be retrieved.
Finding somebody and knowing that there was nothing you could do to help them. You're a volunteer, so you certainly weren't, expecting to see what you seen at Lockerbie. I've never been back because, as I say, it does bring up memories.
So on day one we were nose cone.
We'd cross the field one way, then cross another. A Reindeer control, which is Sector E.
Reindeer control, Sector E, go ahead.
If we were out in the field, the police themselves couldn't get back to Lockerbie with their handsets. So we took all the messages and it was sent back, relayed back to the control at Lockerbie.
We came across one of the baggage carts and then they knew instantly from that it was definitely a bomb. I was asked to radio in at the time that they'd found evidence that it was a bomb, but obviously with the press listening on their scanners, that information would have been on the telly before we even got back, so we changed it to an urgent pickup.
Right there was the nose cone.
Mm-hmm. I'm proud that I managed to have a wee bit of input. I mean, there were a lot of people actually did a lot more than we did.
Not about the 4 of us.
No.
It's not about Ayrshire Reindeer.
No, it's about the whole...
It's about the hundreds of Reindeer operators that turned up here from all over the country. the search and rescue who came. The WRVS that provided
Salvation
the
Army, Sherwood Crest.
It's a huge loss of life, isn't it? It's massive. The only thing I would say, it was nice to be able to offer a wee bit of help to people.
That piece was compiled by Georgina Hayes. We're covering this story as part of Your Voice, and we want to hear about the stories that are important to you too. You can head to bbc.co.uk/Your Voice or scan the QR code on your screen now to find out how to get in touch. Tonight's main news again. Scotland's resident doctors vote to go on strike for the first time ever in a row over pay.
And still to come in the sport, we look ahead to the 1872 Cup as Glasgow Warriors and Edinburgh go head-to-head at Hampden.
Animal charities are calling for a ban on live reindeer events this Christmas, claiming their evidence shows serious welfare concerns. The charity One Kind claims it has evidence of reindeer in distress at several events last year. The Cairngorm reindeer herd insists their animals are kept in the best conditions, exceeding licensing requirements. Maura Kinneborough reports.
Merry Mulgai by Glasgow this year. One of several events across the country using live reindeer to celebrate the festive season.
They're really used to big crowds. They all get halter trained when they're calves, so they're very used to being out and about.
Animal charities argue these events unnecessarily exploit reindeer for commercial gain.
We want to see an end to the use of reindeer at festive displays because there's often loud noises, loud music, bright lights and crowds of humans and unpredictable interactions, and evidence shows that these events are likely leading to reindeer experiencing psychological distress, lack of agency and an unsuitable environment.
Some events, like Edinburgh's Christmas, no longer use live reindeer. Activists have sent their footage for analysis by an animal welfare expert.
The most concerning part for me was how many reindeer showed signs of stress. So we have the wide eyes showing the white sclera around it, the tense, hypervigilant posture, heavy breathing, and kind of lying down or standing completely still and unresponsive. And these are well-recognised signs that an animal is stressed and they're struggling to cope with their environment.
The reindeer at home near Aviemore. Their owners insist conditions here and at festive events not only meet but exceed animal welfare requirements.
We have nothing to hide. They make comments about how reindeer are scarred by the events that we do. That is not the case. We are good, honest reindeer herders, and these reindeer come back on the hill after they've done their work.
Both sides insist they have the reindeer's best interests at heart. The Scottish Government says welfare laws already exist to ensure animals' needs are met. Maura Kinneborough, reporting Scotland.
On News at 7 tonight, they're looking at the cost of Christmas. After it emerged, the price of a traditional dinner has risen 4% in a year.
Shocking. I'm surprised it's only 4%. It seems a lot more.
Noticed a big difference in the prices.
It's Christmas. You just got to make the savings elsewhere.
It's ridiculous this year. And I feel like it's only going to get worse next year. But I try and look after people here because they look after me.
Right, time now to get sport with Lewis, and plenty on for sports lovers this weekend.
Absolutely, what a weekend it's shaping up to be. A massive round of fixtures in the Premiership, but also 1872 Cup time.
You best get cracking then.
Absolutely, better take it away. Thanks, Laura. Although, yes, Rangers head coach Danny Rule admits that he's already spoken to potential new signings ahead of the transfer window opening in the new year. But before that, he's hoping his current group of players can continue their unbeaten league form under him when they take on Leaders Hearts on Sunday. Rule was spreading the Christmas cheer as he faced the media today. Look at this, handing out chocolate Santas to journalists at his press conference. When the German arrived at Rangers in October, they were 8th in the Premiership with just 1 win from 8 games. Heading to Tynecastle, they are still 9 points behind Hearts, but with a game in hand and are now 3rd in the table.
We will not win the league on the weekend. Yeah, this is also crucial, but of course to go in such a game with our one, to face on a team who is at the moment, top of the league, is good, is great. This is the challenge we want. I think it will be a great atmosphere in the stadium as well, and we are prepared for this and we are looking forward.
Well, Hearts look like they might be past their mini wobble. The league leaders went 4 games without a win in recent weeks, but bounced back with victories over Celtic and Falkirk. Rangers could be a good test of their recovery. As I mentioned, they have turned a corner since the sides met in September under Russell Martin when Hearts won 2-0 at Ibrox. The Tynecastle side are looking to extend their 6-point lead over Celtic, who slipped up in one of their games in hand against Dundee United on Wednesday, of course.
We went on a little sticky spell there. And all we want to do is try and get back to unbeaten runs and winning runs. And if you can get a number of them throughout a season and make them quite significant, then hopefully it helps us in what we're trying to do. Every game seems to be bigger than the next one. Sell out at Celtic Park, sell out at Falkirk, sell out on Sunday, sell out at the Derby, sell out home game against Livingston. For us to maintain it, we have to acknowledge it as individually we need to improve as players, and as a team we're going to have to keep improving.
Now to another big game on Sunday, and it is the one taking place in the east end of Glasgow between Celtic and Aberdeen. How desperate Wilfred Nancy will be to end his dreadful run of 4 straight defeats amid mounting pressure at the club.
I think every player has again grown a lot from this experience, and that I think that will help us in the league also. We're gonna have our fans there again, and we will be ready. But it's going to be a difficult game. But we have to recover now and focus on the next game, that is Celtic away.
Now to the rugby, and Glasgow Warriors and Edinburgh are preparing to go head-to-head in the first leg of their festive double-header. The 1872 Cup kicks off at Hampden Park tomorrow, where holders Warriors are looking to repeat their storming victory from last year. Andy Burke reports.
Now Scotland's top rugby players have the chance to make a few memories of their own.
Yeah, it's amazing. Especially after the national football team qualified for the World Cup here. What an atmosphere that was, and we had a really good time here last year. It's a really good week for all of us with our families before Christmas. So yeah, really looking forward to it.
Glasgow come into this first of the festive derby double-header in buoyant mood after a stunning Champions Cup victory over Toulouse last weekend, when they rallied from 21-0 down at half-time to deliver a famous win.
No, it'll be good, especially they're in good form right now, probably one of the best club teams in the world, you could say. So it's not only 1872, we're playing one of the best club teams in the world at the moment. So that's a challenge in itself. So I'm really excited.
The story of Edinburgh this season is a familiar one. Consistently inconsistent. They can reach great heights and plumb great depths in equal measure, but beating Glasgow on their own patch could be just the spark they need.
I know they're a quality team, and those are the games you want to play. Glasgow obviously we know our lads, so I don't want to big them up too much, but they're a good side, and that was a good win. And we've done similar a couple of weeks ago in Toulon, so we know the feeling, and they'll be riding super high, and they'll be coming in with confidence, and it's the exact kind of challenge we're looking to take head on.
You're playing against boys who you train with and play with in Scotland. It's like playing your little brother or your big brother. That's what it comes down to. Even though you love some of those boys, Skewy and Dewey, I'm very close with in the Scotland team. But they're going to be the enemies on the weekend.
Well, after that stunning victory over the 6 times European champions Toulouse last weekend, Glasgow come in as big favourites, but Edinburgh will come here looking to change the narrative and deliver a big Hampden shock. Andy Burke, reporting Scotland, Hampden.
And Laura, that's the sport from me for a wee while now, actually.
Yeah, you're off on a bit of paternity leave.
I'm taking some leave to spend with my wife Olivia and my wee son Ronan, so I'm looking forward to it.
I'm sure they'll be delighted to have you, but we will miss you. But you'll be back.
We'll see.
So, thank you very much, Lewis. Right, how is the weather looking? We're ruling out a white Christmas. Can we say that?
Almost.
Almost,
yes,
okay.
Yes, the weather is going to settle down towards Christmas, but certainly it was very unsettled today, Laura. We've had some sunshine, we've had plenty of showers driven in on strong winds, but the weekend weather is looking a little bit quieter too. Thank you very much. Good evening to you. Yes, it's been blustery and unsettled today, those frequent showers, but they are easing as we speak into this evening. Just some lingering across the Northern Isles, the Western Isles, the West Highlands too, and then during the early hours the odd shower drifting into the southwest, but otherwise dry with some clear spells. Quite a chilly night in the northeast, especially 2 or 3 Celsius the low, with quite a brisk wind still along the west coast and in the north. To tomorrow, we start with some showers in the southwest, drifting through central areas, through the West Highlands, Argyll and the Cairngorms too. But as we go into the afternoon, it'll become dry for all, with spells of brightness and sunshine. Temperature-wise tomorrow, much the same values as we've had today. However, with much lighter winds tomorrow and much more in the way of sunshine, I suspect it'll feel a little more pleasant compared with today. Still a brisk wind though for the west coast and the Western Isles from the south or the southeast. Tomorrow evening, and it'll bring some areas of cloud along North Sea coasts with some showers, and all the while a frontal system bringing some patchy outbreaks of rain into the southwest. Otherwise though, dry with some clear spells. As we head into Sunday, that frontal system will still be in play, moving in from the southwest. So we start with a lot of cloud. In fact, during the day generally on Sunday will bring much more in the way of cloud than tomorrow. And some outbreaks of rain, patchy in nature, pushing northwestwards. And then in the northeast, still a scattering of showers, as well as in the Northern Isles. Temperatures of around 7 to 9 Celsius with a southeasterly wind. And into the beginning of next week, will we have more frontal systems in play, so rather cloudy skies and also some outbreaks of rain, particularly on Monday morning. That rain quite widespread for a time. As we go through the day, though, it'll become confined to western coasts as well as parts of the north. Otherwise, it becomes drier and there will be occasional breaks in the cloud, a top temperature of around 9 or 10 Celsius. Looking further ahead through the Christmas week, and it's going to be all about high pressure. It's building in and that will settle the weather down through the Christmas period. So just to recap, into Christmas week, we will start with some rain initially, then that high pressure building in, turning things drier, a good deal of cloud within that high pressure and certainly chilly at times too. That's the forecast. Laura.
Kirsten, thank you very much. Now tonight's main news again. Scotland's resident doctors vote to go on strike for the first time ever in a row over pay. They are around 5,500 resident doctors who used to be known as junior doctors. And a man is extradited from Dubai and appears in court in Glasgow charged with organised crime offences. Stephen Jameson was flown to Glasgow yesterday. I'll be here with your late news at around 10:30. Join us then. But until then, from everyone on the team, do enjoy the rest of your evening. Bye-bye.